This is The Scoop for Wednesday.
I'm Megan Bowman with the WMNF News headlines. Statewide school districts have been inundated with false shooting threats, and a Florida sheriff is fed up with it. Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood's message to students and their parents is if a kid gets arrested for making a threat, he'll post their mugshot on social media. Meanwhile, those threats continue in the Tampa Bay region. An 11-year-old was arrested in Pinellas yesterday for making written threats to kill or conduct a mass shooting. The student sent a text message that said, quote, OMG, I might shoot up to school. Just watch November 4th. Another student in Plant City was arrested yesterday for having a loaded 9mm handgun with a magazine and 26 rounds of ammunition in his car. The 16-year-old was charged with possession of a firearm on school property and minor in possession of a firearm. Meanwhile, Governor Ron DeSantis says metal detectors won't be mandated in Florida schools. The governor's remarks came at a press conference in Orlando the same day the Volusia County Sheriff's Office arrested an 11-year-old who made threats. There were threats in Orange, Seminole, and Marion last week as well. The governor says he thinks each individual school district needs to decide what works best for their student population.
But ultimately, I don't know that Orange County is the same as Okaloosa or that Duval's the same as Polk. And so I think these districts can make those determinations as they see fit. But that would definitely not be something we would mandate be done throughout the state of Florida.
Under Elisa's law, Florida schools must have a panic alert system in place. Each teacher wears a special panic button as part of their ID. And as of last week, every Central Florida district has the panic button system in place. Tampa is launching a 2-year project to update the city's land development code. WMNF's Chris Young reports the city held a public kickoff meeting at the city center at Hannah Avenue to introduce it.
The Land Development Code is the set of regulations that govern how land can be used and developed in the city. It can include things like protecting a city's historic buildings, creating housing choices, and improving walkability. Tampa Mayor Jane Castor addressed the crowd in a pre-recorded statement.
As we welcome new investments and residents, it's clear that our current land development code is not meeting our needs.
The current code is over 1,400 pages and is hard to understand. So city officials hired outside consulting firm Clarion Associates to help make it clearer. The group's consultant, Jeff Green, says the new codes won't please everyone.
Our job is to engaging with the entire community to figure out regulations that, as much as possible, meet the needs of all the different communities.
Prior to implementation, officials plan to test the new codes in various neighborhoods. Chris Young, WMNF News, Tampa.
An appeals court will hear arguments in late November about whether Florida violated federal law. The battle questions the state's move to block Medicaid coverage for transgender people seeking hormone therapy and puberty blockers to treat gender dysphoria. Lawyers for Governor Ron DeSantis' administration appealed a ruling last year that found the state's prohibition of treatments violated federal health care laws and the U.S. Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. The original suit was filed in 2022 on behalf of 2 transgender adults and the parents of 2 transgender minors after the State Agency for Healthcare Administration adopted a rule barring coverage. Forecasters are monitoring 2 tropical disturbances which could form into depressions by the weekend. The remnants of Gordon in the Atlantic could reform when it meets a non-tropical low. It has a 60% chance of formation in the next week. The second is a broad area of low pressure over the northwestern Caribbean Sea. It has about a 20% chance of formation over the next week while it moves slowly to the north or northwest. I'm Megan Bowman with the WMNF News headlines.
This is The Scoop, recorded at WMNF Tampa.